Hello, everybody, and welcome to our concert. I'm Mrs. Burdick, and it is my privilege to introduce for the very first time on our stage here at the middle school our fifth grade band. So they are super excited to perform for you tonight. And tonight, this is kind of a new thing for us. We usually have our fifth graders combined with some of our other grades in a concert. But I thought this would be a kind of a nice experience to feature them in all the hard work that they have done and kind of share with you our journey so far. So a lot of you weren't around when we had our very beginning part of the band. Those of you who had the privilege of coming to our mouthpiece testing night, you got to hear some of the fun sounds that they got to make then. And that's kind of where all of this started for them. That's one of my favorite nights because it's like trying to find the right fit for them. So usually kids go into finding an instrument and they have an idea in their head of what they want to play. How many of you actually ended up with the instrument you thought you were going to play? Some of us, not all of us. Okay? So some of us walk in and we try stuff and we're like, whoa, that did not work for me. Okay? So instruments, I always say they're like shoes. We have to find the right fit for kids. So once we do, then we are on to making some sounds. But we thought it would be a good idea to start at the beginning for you and show you what it sounded like when you first started playing. So we're going to play Hot Cross Buns for you, but they're going to do it how we started with it, with just their mouthpieces. Start playing our mouthpieces. But if we don't make these sounds, we can't get a good sound on our whole instrument when it's put together. So that's how we started the year, just with our mouthpieces, learning to get those sounds. And then we were able to put all of it together, and we started playing some notes. So the next song we would like to play for you is called First Flight. And this was a very important song in our book, because you guys remember what was so special about this song? What was it? Merrill, can you tell?
Song that take the bus the note.
Yeah, so prior to this in our book, it showed us what note we had to play. This was the first song in our book where they actually had to read the music on the page. So when they saw this, they were looking at me like, she's crazy. I'm not going to do that. But we got the hang of it, and they learned how to read music very, very well. So here's our next song for you, First Flight. They have a really neat, nice, low sound. I think they really enjoy them because Well, they only have 3 buttons to worry about, they have told me before, so it's not so bad. And some of them just like that they can be nice and loud, I've heard. So they're going to play, it's called Rolling Along. We know it better as Merrill. For them. They thought it was a little crazy, but I'm like, you guys got some muscle. You can hold those up. So it's not as big as they first thought it was. So our next song that we're going to play for you is kind of another milestone when they were in their book. And we got to some sounds that were longer. So we introduced a new rhythm in our song number 16. Does anyone remember what it's called? What's it called?
The half note.
Half note. And how many beats is a half note get?
2.
Yeah, so we now had some longer sounds that we had to hold. So this is our next one that's called the half count for you. Now we'd like to show off another one of our instrument groups, and that would be our trombones way in the back row. Go ahead and stand up, guys. Now, trombone is kind of a unique instrument because it has something that none of our other instruments have, and what would that be? You want to tell Brady?
A slide.
A slide, that's a lovely thing that gets to move back and forth. Okay, so the first thing we learn about a slide is we need to hold on to it. Because they get going and they let go, and these things got some distance on them if they do let go. So we have mastered the art of holding on to our slide, which is great. And they thought it would be a good idea to share with you how hot cross buns is supposed to sound. You heard it with their mouthpieces. Now we're going to see if we can hear what it sounds like on our trombones. So after this, we've increased and we got to learn some new rhythms in our next song. And it's an even longer rhythm than our half note. What was that one called? Can you tell us, Crystal?
A whole note.
Does a whole note get?
4.
4. So now we had to have the lung capacity to be able to hold on to notes for an even longer time. Which some of us, it's harder than others. What do we think is the hardest instrument to hold long notes on? What do you think, Arya? The saxophone, you think? Guess what? It's actually the flutes. Because a lot of our air doesn't go right into our instrument. Yeah. So flute players, they have some really strong lungs. Okay, they've been working on it. So we're going to play our next song. It's called The Whole Thing for You. So there are the wonderful people standing way in the back, and that's our percussion section. So our percussionists don't just learn one instrument, they have several that they're learning. We have keyboard instruments like the xylophones and the bells. They also have the big bass drum that they're playing, and we have some snare drums too that they're using. So they're going to play their next song called Split Decision. That's going to be one of our woodwind instruments, our clarinet players. Now, clarinet players, when we start, probably have the hardest job because their instrument comes in the most pieces. So that was our challenge when we started learning how to play the clarinet. But they have mastered the art of putting these together, and they can do it pretty fast now. So they're going to play something called March Steps for you. Raise your hand if you're a woodwind instrument. All of our people in our first two rows, our clarinets, our saxophones, and our flutes. So they're all woodwind instruments because they were either made out of wood or they use a special piece of wood in order to play them called a reed. So our next group we feature is our brass instruments. Raise your hand if you're a brass player. Yeah, those are our people in the back row. So their instruments are all made out of different types of metal. That's why they fit into that family. And we have our percussion, way in the back there. So percussion is anything you can hit, shake, or strike in order to make sound. So our next song is going to feature each section by itself. It's called Listen to Our Sections. But we know it better as well. Where we come? Yeah, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. next we would like to feature another one of our instrument groups, our saxophones. So the saxophones are fun instruments. They fit nice in the band. They're used in jazz bands and have a really neat sound. So they're going to play a song called Doodle All Day for you. So their instruments are a little bit different from everyone else for a couple of reasons. They're the only one that we don't hold in front of our body. It goes off to the side. And it also is the only instrument where we don't have anything in our mouth or on our mouth to blow into. They actually rest right on their chin. And it's kind of like blowing into a soda bottle and trying to make it have a whistle sound. So it's a little bit more challenging to start with. But we have some fun sounds that we used when they began, like our whistles and train sounds they got to make, which got them experts at finding how to make a sound on their instrument. So they're going to play a song called Jump Rope for you. The next song is, I think, the rite of passage beginning band. And the kids always tease me because it's probably my least favorite song, but we have to do it. And it is Jingle Bells. And we did learn something about Jingle Bells because they always tell me it is a Christmas song. It is not, though, is it? Okay. What holiday was it actually written for?
It was written for Thanksgiving.
This is technically a Thanksgiving song. It was written for the Thanksgiving holiday, but it's more commonly played during Christmas now. So we did get to learn that fun fact. So here is Jingle Bells. Next, I would like to feature our last instrument group, our trumpets. So trumpets, go ahead and stand up. So this is our highest sounding brass instrument. You know, they like it because it only has two pieces to put together, so it goes together pretty easily. It's not so big to carry around, and it's only got three different buttons or valves to use. Okay, so our trumpets are going to play a song for us, and they got to learn a new rhythm for this one that nobody else had in their special song. What was that called?
It was called Eighth Notes.
Eighth notes. So this goes a little bit faster. So when I first told them that they're going to be playing this, they were like, "Why did you pick the hardest one for us?" I'm like, "I know you can do it," and they sure can. So we're going to try one called Eighth Note Jam for you. McDonald, but our version is he didn't have a farm, he had a band. So it's going to kind of feature each of our different sections. And this was a big milestone song for us because it's the first song that we played where all of our instruments don't have the same part together. So that was a little alarming to them at first. And we had to kind of focus on making sure we were doing our own thing and being okay with other people doing their own thing. And I think they have mastered it pretty well. So we hope you enjoy Old MacDonald Had a Band. What they're doing on the stage would not be possible unless they had the encouragement from everyone at home. So learning an instrument is tricky, and we go into it thinking, well, it can't be that hard. They found out a little differently, but they have some great skills that they're learning, and I think that, going through this process is great for kids because it teaches them persistence, not to give up, and that it's okay to try new things and fail. They make a lot of wrong notes, but wrong notes are part of learning, we have discovered. Okay? And that's the reason that they're here on the stage and able to do what they do, is for people keeping encouraging them and letting them know it's okay to make mistakes. We learn from them, we grow from them, and that's why they're turning into these wonderful musicians. So thank you for all that you do for them at home. I'm super excited with this group to see where they come in our next concert, which is going to be in May. So, and I know we already are starting some fun music for that. So that will be coming up on May 10th. And a couple of housekeeping things. So when they're done, they're going to go back upstairs to get all of their instruments and things put away. They'll come back down here and meet you. So here's our last song, one of their favorites of this year so far. It's called Hard Rock Blues.